Yeah.
Okay.
we were totally muted back over there.
Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our usually weekly podcast, but the last few weeks there's been a little bit of hiccups.
It was
Miguel
my
has
bad.
had some engagements.
Yeah, it was my bad.
But we're back. We are back today with the Come Follow With Us podcast. We're excited. We have some great insights. Well, I think Miguel has some great insights that he wants to share with us, all historically based. So before the podcast, I was like, did you ensure to fact check what you're going to say? The doctrine and the testimony is real. The historical events, I would just fact check what Miguel says.
Wow.
Just kidding.
Wow. Well, thank you for joining. We'll talk to you guys later. Have a good day. We're done.
I'm kidding. You know what? I need to stop teasing Miguel. I think I've been going a little bit too hardcore. If you know us, you kind of know the...
No. If you know you, I don't tease. If you know you, if people know you, then they'll know what's going on.
I know. I do feel bad. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I called you Groot. I'm sorry I pointed out, like...
Why are we talking about that?
The young man's theme. I'm apologizing. I'm making an overall statement. I am very sorry. I truly am. I think I will be kinder.
That's a lie. But anyways.
I will be Christ-like. I'll be charitable.
That's the hopes. But I don't know if you're going to be able to achieve that in this lifetime. So just continue doing you, boo-boo. And let's see what happens.
Thank goodness for eternity, right?
Oh, yeah, because you're going to definitely need it. You're going to need an eternity to, yeah. So I was watching, actually, it's funny because I was watching another podcast. Somebody sent it to me, right? Which is similar to what we're doing. We're just going through and there's a ton out there. We're like many, right?
For sure.
Anyways, and so this person sent it to me. I'm like, oh, look, this is something like how you're doing. This person's kind of known in the LDS community out of Calgary, right? Anyways,
okay.
and so I clicked it. I'm like, let me check him out. It is nothing like this podcast. And I'm just like
I was offended. Just kidding.
No, I was like, I'm so grateful.
I'm sure it was better.
I'm so grateful for his style of podcast because it was a seminary class. Like he was just dropping doctrine and and like the charts, and he had a blackboard in the back, and he was just whatever. And then we have these two goofballs over here talking about like fact checking me because apparently I don't give proper doctrine. And then I'm like, yeah, this is...
No, you do. Doctrine is good. It's just sometimes your historical events you get...
It's always been right. It's I dare you to correct me.
You know what, though? I do think that you and I have more of a style that's geared more towards younger listeners.
I think...
Or like younger people.
Yeah, like sibling rivalry. Like we're just...
No, I mean in our podcast, but yes.
That's what I'm talking about. Yeah, it bleeds into our podcast, including this Christian one. Like this sibling rivalry that we have, where you're like calling me Groot in front of 150 people.
Okay, it was only 45 plus the leader, so maybe 55. It was only 55 people. And I'll have you know, the only reason why I called him Groot is because if you don't know, and this is your first time joining us, Miguel has a style that's a uniform. So he wears the same thing every day.
Every day.
And that's just to minimize to make his time more effective, which I totally get. But I just think he needs to add a little bit more to his wardrobe. But again, that's my thoughts. Anyway, so he shows up to our youth activity. We have a combined youth activity last Wednesday, and he has this little piece of like scarf going on.
It was stylish.
I guess he is rocking it. He was styling and profiling, I guess, right? Anyway, and the first thing it reminds me of is Groot.
Rude.
Because his scarf is so thin.
Rude.
The only thing it needed to be was black. If it was black, you would have nailed the Groot look. Oh, and you would have needed like a blazer or like a jacket on top. And maybe to be dressed all in black. Oh, wait, you were half in black. So
literally you just described everything that I was like, yeah, if you would have changed your face, look, nose, scarf, clothes, everything about you, then you would have looked like Groot. I'm like, yeah, like that's everything. So how do I
people, you know what we're going to do? Because I'm sure if you're watching us, you kind of know us. I'm going to share a picture, a side by side of his look with Groot. And then you be the judge. Please let us know. Does he have the Groot look? Does Bishop Martinez showed up as Bishop Groot? Or Groot. Sorry, not Groot. Groot is the tree thing.
Bishop Groot. Okay, cool. All right. Well, welcome to the
Bishop Groot.
podcast. Come follow with us.
Yes.
Well, we try.
Yes, we're so excited.
Yeah, we are actually. So I was talking to Maria earlier. One of the reasons why I love, so in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, we have 4 standard works that we use them collectively to learn the fullness of the gospel of Jesus Christ. So we have the Bible, which consists of the Old and New Testament. We study the King James Version. We have the Book of Mormon, which is an historical event or scriptures that were written in the ancient Americas. And we, through the translation, we realized that the people of the Americas actually knew about Jesus Christ and wrote about Jesus Christ. And we have those writings and teachings in the Book of Mormon. We also have Pearl of Great Price, it was one document and one revelation given to Joseph. And the document, he translated it. And the other one, he had a vision of, and he wrote it down. But it's pretty much the Book of Moses and the Book of Abraham and the historical events of the Joseph Smith history, right? So that's the 3rd book. And then the 4th book is Doctrine and Covenants. The reason, every book I love for different reasons. Doctrine and Covenants is not just a book of revelations given to modern times, like it's our book of revelations, but it's also a historical documentation of what was happening in the early saints. And no other, like the Bible doesn't do that. The Book of Mormon somewhat does that, but this is like, this
is a Q&A.
Yeah.
It's like a questions and answered, right?
Yeah, because a lot of people
I have this question.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it was documented. In the beginning, it was called the Book of Commandments. And then it got changed to Doctrine and Covenants. And a lot of things, when that switch happened, a lot of things changed as well. Dates and stuff. But yeah, like if you read this with a historical like accounts of the saints and stuff, it paints a huge, it's a movie of everything that was going on in whatever. And then we get to see all the histories of. So I love, like, I know, anyways, I'm able to relate more to the people, what's happening in Doctrine and Covenants than, what happened to Abraham when he was being asked to sacrifice his son. I've never been asked to do that, but I have been asked to defend my faith in certain ways. So I can relate to these people a little bit more, right? So anyways, that's my little spiel about DNC.
Though, reading the Doctrine and Covenants, I've been listening to the book The Saints and sort of trying to understand and comprehend what the early saints have gone through.
Yeah.
It blows my mind.
Yeah.
I honestly don't think I could have done it. I don't think I could have been persecuted. I don't think I could have been like, they were beaten. They were like, women were raped as well. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
it is such a horrible, hard, but also faith building time, because at that point, what do you have to rely on?
Yeah.
The Lord, right? And he's the only one that's going to get you through all these difficulties that you're going through.
Yeah.
It's also helped me to better defend my faith, I believe.
Yeah. Yeah.
And to do it more in a sense where you're less confrontational. The Lord has said, confrontation is not of him. That is the spirit of the devil. And we should never, contention, sorry. What was it? It was a quote that I recently read that it said, conflict is unavoidable. Contention is chosen.
Okay.
So it kind of blew my mind, where I'm like, yes, of course, sometimes we're going to have some conflict between people, but how we handle that conflict is what really speaks to us.
Didn't I say that in a couple of podcasts ago? Well, I think you're quoting me.
Sure. According to Miguel, this is what he has said.
Yeah, like, I don't mind you using my bits. I just recognize where they came from, and that's all I'm asking. And then we can move on.
Okay. It didn't come from you.
It did. It came from me.
It actually came from State Conference. I think it was. I
said it.
I don't know. No,
we were talking during the break.
No, that's not what you said. Anyways,
let's move on. So there are 3 chapters we want to cover. So we want to give you a walkthrough of kind of what's going on historically wise. And then Maria's going to fact check me to make sure that it's all legit. Are you ready?
Go ahead. I am ready. I am so excited about this. Go ahead.
Okay. So in here, the church has recently been organized. So April 6, 1830, the church was fully restored. They established the leadership. They established, I don't want to say the hierarchy, but kind of like the leadership and the pillars of the church, right? The apostles, the witnesses, and prophet. People were being sustained and all that other stuff. 5 people came to Joseph, and during pretty much I want to say the first conference, but during this time, and they asked kind of, what will the Lord have me do, right? And so here's the neat thing about that, and we see that even before section 23, anybody that has a full testimony of the modern day work, so meaning Joseph Smith is a modern day prophet, they come to him and like, and like, think about it like this, right? If we have access to a prophet, like he's going to our ward, he's there with us, I would be going up to him and be like, can you tell me what the Lord thinks about me, or what would the Lord have me do, right? So here are people in this, they have a prophet in their ward, and so there's all the time they're coming up to him and they're like, what will the Lord have me do? And 5 particular people come to him. 4 of them are members, 1 of them is not. Now, just to give you a little bit of what's going on here, because a lot of people like to take something and then think that it's false and all this other stuff. These 5 revelations, because there were 5 revelations, they were given at separate times. I think it was from the 6th to the 11th. But they were so close in proximity, meaning the content, that when Doctrine and Covenants was first printed as the Book of Commandments, it was printed as separate sections. And then when it came back, and then they printed Doctrine and Covenants, they just kind of almost amalgamated the 5 revelations and just put into section 23. And then so the date got taken out, and now it just says April 1830. But these revelations is pretty much over a period of from like the 6th to the 11th kind of thing. So, is that accurate, Princess?
I would say that's accurate.
Okay.
I would say that's accurate.
Do you understand that how as I'm speaking, I'm like walking on eggshell? Yeah, I'm stressed. I'm sweating here. I'm like, oh freak, she's just gonna tell me, yeah, that's wrong.
I'm sorry, I've created that. Okay, but go ahead.
Yeah.
I like where this is going.
No, and so you got to keep in mind that this is revelations given to 5 different people. 4 of them are members, 1 of them is not. And they just kind of like are asking, what will the Lord have me do? And so this is the revelation kind of give it to them, right? And again, they were so close in proximity of the content that it just got put into one section, which is 23.
Yeah, so let's go through the 5 people. What do you think?
Yeah, let's go through the 5 people.
And what they each got. Okay, so first it was Oliver Cowdery.
Yep.
And what the Lord says to him is that he is blessed. I mean, okay, so if you're not familiar with our faith, or if you are, Oliver Cowdery is the 2nd elder of the church. The 1st elder is Joseph Smith as the prophet, seer, and sort of revelator of the restoration of the church. 2nd elder is Oliver Cowdery. But then here's what he says to him. He's like, behold, thou art blessed. So Oliver, you are blessed. But then this is what he tells him. He warns him. He says, okay, but you have to know what you have to watch out for. And here it goes. Beware of pride, lest thou shouldn't enter into temptation. So he says, beware of pride, because that pride is going to lead you into temptation, and it's going to lead you to make choices that you're going to be more susceptible to making if you lean into that pride. And if we talk about Oliver Cowdery in future chapters, we're going to find out what happens with him. It's pretty incredible to me. And it goes to show you that because you're strong in the gospel right now, it does not mean that you will always be strong if you don't do the basics.
Love it.
If you don't go to church, if you don't pray, if you don't study your scriptures, if you don't do that, that testimony can go away and you can fall away from the church. So a little thing about what happens to Oliver Cowdery, he actually leaves the church for some time.
Yeah.
So that's him. And then we go into
before you move on to the thing, I absolutely love that. Growing up, I've always been told primary answers, right? Yeah. And so for those who are not
and people scoff, right?
Yeah.
When they're like, can I get something more complicated? But the thing is that simplicity. The Lord teaches us through simplicity. If you are making something super hard, that's not the Lord.
Yeah.
Sorry, go ahead. I
No,
cut you
no,
off.
and no. I mean, you're literally we're on the same wavelength because I was just counseling with a sister in our ward, and she's asked the questions like, am I forgiven? Or she's struggling with her faith a little bit. Not with her faith, just with her relationship with the Savior, right? And am I really forgiven and all these different things? And I'm just afraid that this is going to get too complicated. And literally, like, you took the words right out of my mouth. I said the exact same thing. I'm like, I'm a father of 7 children. And if they all leave, like they all go to separate cities and they get married, they leave the country and all that other stuff. And I want them to come back to me. I'm not going to make it complicated for them. I'm not going to make them go on a scavenger hunt to try and find their ticket if I'm paying for it. And then that they can find their way back and jack up the prices. And I'm like, the bus ticket costs $300, but I'm going to charge you $800. Like, I'm not going to make it complicated. As a father, I want them back to me. So I'm going to make it as simple as possible for all my 7 children to come back to me and be with me. And so of similar caliber, we are to the Father. And we are here on earth for a period of time. And his greatest desire is to have his family back. Like, that's it, right? And so he's not going to make this thing called life as complicated as possible, and where we have to like figure out the doctrine and figure out the puzzle pieces. No, it's go to church, pray, read your scriptures, CPR it. Like, that's it, right? And so with Oliver, yeah, you're absolutely right. He is about to get bombarded with a bunch of temptations. And the Lord's just be mindful of that, right? Like, just beware of pride. And the reason why I stopped you is, as a line of authority, I'm under him. Like, we owe a lot to Oliver Carter, right? He was the He was the scribe, right?
Yeah, he was the scribe. He was there when the priesthood was restored. Like, so many things happened in his life, right?
Yeah.
He saw an angel with the plates. Yeah. He was there when the priesthood was restored.
Yeah.
Like, so many incredible experiences that he had.
He heard the voice.
And he never doubted that. He never said anything against that.
Yeah.
It was mostly what left him with the church is the complicated relationship that him and Joseph developed because of land, because he didn't like the things that Joseph was doing. He didn't agree with them. That's the reason why he left.
Yeah. But he never denounced what he saw, which were the plates, the angel Moroni, the voice of the Lord, the brass, the thing, the Liahona, the sword of Laban, like Urim and Thummim, the seer stone. He never denounced any of that stuff, right? So anyway, so I love what you said. It doesn't matter how strong you are in the gospel. Like, don't complicate things. Keep it simple. And I've seen many great men in my lifetime fall because they complicated the gospel of Jesus Christ. So I'm grateful you said that.
I think sometimes our mind wants to complicate it because we want to have a reason of why it's hard.
Yeah.
Like, if something's simple, it doesn't mean that it's easy. But if something's super complicated, then we're like, okay, that's the reason we can't do it because it's too difficult. It's too this, it's too that. And like you said, God never... one of the things that I recently listened to talked about how God is this loving. He is so loving, and he's like a coach, right? So if you have the evidence of a coach and umpire, I think it's called.
Umpire,
yeah. In a baseball game, right? The coach is there motivating, ensuring that you know what's ahead, telling you, right? That he wants you to come home, and he's there cheering you and helping you, right? Yeah. What's the ump doing? The ump is ensuring that, like, if you do something wrong, you're out.
Yeah.
And that's not God, right? But sometimes we want to make him to be that person when he's not. He is the coach in that baseball game.
Love it. Absolutely love it. All right. Who's the next person?
The next person that we have here is Hiram. So Hiram is Joseph's brother. And here it says, he speaks to Hiram, and he says that Hiram is under no condemnation. His heart is open. His tongue will be loosed. And his calling is to exhort and to strengthen the church continually. So what it makes me think of is keep magnifying your calling, keep learning, keep teaching, keep guiding, keep mentoring. That's what it makes me think of that he was blessed with.
Yeah. I love this part because this ties back to section 11. So section 11 was given to Hiram. When Hiram went in the process of translating the Book of Mormon, section 11 was my mission president's one of his favorite sections in Doctrine and Covenants. and he painted a picture. Like, can you imagine you having this pit bull of a like pure muscle, pure strength, and he's tied to a chain, or she's tied to it, like the dog's tied to a chain, and the dog's just like ready to tear something apart, or like just go at it and chase and run around, whatever. But then you have like the owner kind of like pulling it back, and you can feel it like being pulled back, kind of thing. In section 11, that was Hiram. Hiram just wanted to go and preach the gospel. He's just like, let me at him, coach, pull me in. And the Lord had to like pull him back and just be like, relax, obtain my knowledge first, and then go preach the gospel, right? And then and Hiram's like, no, I want to go now. So here's this lion, this pit bull of a man, spiritual giant, just wanting to go tear things apart, just really preach the gospel. And the Lord's pulling him back, right? So here in section 3, I love it because it's like I'm going to let you go now. You can go. You have the Book of Mormon. You have a testimony. I've ordained you. Your tongue will be loosened. Go. Oh man, anyways, I love Hiram. He is one of my favorite people in the Book of Mormon. Yeah, in the modern days.
Yeah, absolutely. I do love Hiram. He was such a great brother. He loved and cared for his brother. And here's the difference, as you were talking about. I was thinking about the difference between Oliver Cowdery and Hiram, and how both of them struggled with certain things that Joseph was doing. But Oliver became critical, as opposed to Hiram opened his heart, asked a lot of questions, and prayed to have that openness of heart, that openness of mind that he needed in order to smooth things over with his brother, right?
Yeah.
And so it shows us that we choose the route that we want to go. All of us, I feel like we are in danger of pride and being critical for our leaders, especially when we don't understand something. And when we don't understand something, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. It means that we can ask questions, but then seek our own understanding.
I love it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. All right. So the next one is Samuel.
It's part of sustaining your leaders, right?
Exactly. I've been thinking a lot. I feel like this year has really, really taught me how to be more supportive as opposed to critical. How to actually not think that always my opinion and the way that I would do it is the right way, but rather be open to somebody else's opinion, be open to how somebody else does it. And just because I don't understand it, it doesn't mean that it's wrong. Just because I don't agree with it, it doesn't mean that it won't work.
Yeah.
Right? So it comes to that open to allow other people to be guided by the Lord, allow other people to make mistakes, give people grace, right?
Yeah.
Not to say that they're going to make mistakes, but just having that openness.
But calling them Groot when they shouldn't, like that's one way of sustaining your leaders, right? Just
thankfully you're not my leader, so
it doesn't matter.
I think if I was in your ward, then I would potentially not call you Groot.
No, because because here, because because I think the temple question is, do you sustain your local leaders, right? And so. It's a temple question.
You're not in the stake, though. I know, but you're not in the stake.
I'm not a local leader. I'm not a local leader.
Yeah, in your ward.
Yeah, I've been ordained. So
to your ward.
In the stake, yes.
To your ward. To Heart Lake. Okay, let's move on. Let's talk about Samuel. So Samuel is another brother of Joseph and Hiram.
Yeah.
And here the Lord blesses him to go with missionary work. That's what I gather from this.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm reading. Where are you? In
verse 4.
Verse 4, yeah. Yeah, just I give you no condemnation. You're under, and I love this because he goes, "Behold, I speak a few words unto you, Samuel, for thou also art under no condemnation." And I think these, because he said it to Hiram and he said it to Samuel, and I think this is perfect. And goes in line with what you said earlier about Oliver. Up until this point, April 6th, between 6th and 11th of 1830, these brethren are not under condemnation. It doesn't mean that this is forever, right?
Exactly. It's not like a one and done. We don't preach like, okay, you're saved and you don't have to do anything else. That's not how the Lord works.
Correct. And so I love that fact that he's just, guys, up until this point, you're good, but I mean, it can change, right? And so, anyway, so I just found that to be interesting because he said the exact same thing moving forward as well.
Yeah.
To Joseph.
Sorry, what did you say?
So in section 5, or not section 5,
Yeah.
in verse 5, behold, if I speak a few words unto you, Joseph, for thou art also under no condemnation. And it's to strengthen the church, and this is thy duty, and henceforth and thine forever. Right?
I think he's giving him a preview because in future revelations, he'll be like, you don't have strength to do anything else. Your calling is to just be at the church,
And
to build the church.
well, he became, and here's why. Is this Joseph's junior? No. Hang on, where am I right now? So this is senior. This is Joseph Smith senior. So this is the father.
This is Joseph Senior? Okay.
Yeah, this is the father. And he is, correct me if I'm wrong, I think he became the patriarch. He became the patriarch.
Yeah. And fun fact, after he passed away, Hiram was the second patriarch.
Yeah.
Isn't that cool?
That is really cool.
That was super cool.
So here he's telling him pretty much, he's telling everybody, go out and preach. Your tongue will be loosened. You, Joseph Senior, you're going to stay behind. You're going to build my church. And so part of building the church is receiving your patriarchal blessing. Right?
Yes. Which we encourage every single member of the church to do. It is an incredible blessing. I cannot encourage enough for everybody to get it.
Yeah. And then we go to the last
and to read
person.
It. Actually read it. If you have one, make sure you read it.
Actually, it's funny because Seth, on his mission, he's been leaning onto I don't want to say he's going through a lot, but he's going through something. Nothing horrible. But he's having to make some tough decisions, and what's keeping him in line is his patriarchal blessing. He keeps reading it often. So anyways, he just told us. That. Yeah, he told us, and he read us a snippet on Monday, and he's like, "This is kind of what I'm going through, and this is what's bringing me peace." And we're like, "All right, cool."
That's so good.
I know that kid's coming back different.
And he should 2 years out.
I know. And now here, cool. Joseph Knight, he's the one that's not a member.
Yeah, he's not a member.
Yeah. And what was his counsel?
Okay, so for him, this is interesting, and I kind of want to do a little bit of a deep dive with him. So Joseph Knight, not a member. One of the things that he struggled with is he didn't want to join until he full out read the Book of Mormon, which is totally normal. But then the counsel he received was take up your cross, in which you must pray vocally before the world, as well as in secret, as in your family and among your friends and in all places. So a little bit of a fact about Joseph Knight is that he did not believe in praying out vocally. He had a really, really hard time. So Joseph Smith, in this particular meeting, he asked them, can you please pray in front of the whole congregation? And he said, Brother Joseph, I'd rather pray on my own. And he's like, okay. He's like, please make sure that you pray or whatever, pray tomorrow, whatever it was, right? So then he goes out into the woods and he goes to go and pray. And he said that whenever he went in there to go pray, that it was a sense of doom. He couldn't physically, vocally verbalize anything. So then as he was getting up, he started heading home, got super, super, super sick. He said that it was as if a dark spirit had kind of been in him, around him, I'm not sure, right? Anyway, he called for Joseph Smith to come, and he was technically the first miracle of the church where Joseph Smith rebuked an evil spirit. He felt much better after, and then that's how he ended up becoming a member of the church and being baptized. And so I think here, when he's like, take up your cross, he's saying like, I know you're uncomfortable, lean into it. It's not going to get easy. You have to do it before. I'm not going to take it away so it's easy for you to go and do it. Pick up your cross and go and do what I'm asking you to do. Because it's only through that act of faith that things get better. You know, it's the whole, I think you and I have talked about this, is the whole thing of trying to get the fire before we do the work of putting the logs in, cutting the logs, putting it in and lighting it. Yeah. So often all of us just want the fire as opposed to picking up our cross, doing the labor that's required in order to get the blessing that we seek. Yeah.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that story. I knew a little bit about it. I didn't know that detail, that amount of details. But what I'm reminded of is when I learned about the first vision. So here's Joseph going into the woods, And here is, wanting the beginning, the first pebble in that water for that ripple effect for what we are now. And so Satan knew exactly what was about to happen. And instead of sending, like, out of all the tactics the adversary threw at Joseph was the binding of his tongue.
Yeah.
Like that. And so now we take a look at senior, Joseph Knight Sr., and we take a look at him. And is it senior or junior? Hang on one second. I want to, before
Who?
senior.
On the first one? Yeah,
Joseph Knight Sr. The exact same thing. And that is a huge, massive lesson, not just, for them, obviously, but also for us who are reading these accounts, is that the way to stop the work is by binding our tongue, by being quiet. The way to progress this work moving forward is to open our mouth and just proclaim. And it's exactly what he told Hiram here. Your tongue will be loosened. And so if we take a look at everything, whenever you want to like testify of Jesus Christ, or you want to invite somebody to church, the open house, youth activities, or whatever, the ward is having a picnic, the ward is having a gathering, whatever. When you are like, oh, I don't know if I want to do this, that's the adversary trying to stop you, right? Because
that feeling of discomfort.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, like that.
Just because if.
Go ahead.
Yeah, go. Sorry. No, I was just gonna say I remember reading in one of these books, and it talked about it was. I forget the name of the book. It's a personal development book, and the author said just because it feels uncomfortable, it does not mean that it's wrong.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we think about it. Oh, maybe I feel like this because I'm not supposed to.
Yeah.
But it just feels that way because we haven't done it before.
And just to be mindful here, that there are certain things that feel uncomfortable that you shouldn't do, right?
Yes.
And so I think it's when you have that uncomfortable feeling, you got to ask yourself, well, is this the right thing or a wrong thing? If it's the wrong thing, then that's the Spirit of the Lord telling you shouldn't do it. But if it's like, yeah, I should do it, but I feel uncomfortable, then that's the Lord telling you to do it. That's the Holy Ghost. And when we don't do it, that's the adversary trying to stop the work. And the best way to foil his plans is just to proclaim. Open your mouth and proclaim the gospel. Your tongue will be loosened. The Lord will be on your side. The promises are there. We'll read them in section 88 when they come forward. But we have angels round about us, protecting us and lifting us up, right? And so for senior night, he the Lord unbound loosened his tongue. Loosen his tongue, right? So,
You mean for Joseph Knight?
Yeah, Joseph Knight Sr.
Yeah. So when it was after Joseph went to go see him.
Right.
But I'm sure that after that he was praying vocally and whatnot. He was able to get over that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. That's it for 23.
Yeah, 23 has a lot of things in there. If we go on to section 24, 24 is a specific revelation both to Joseph Smith and Oliver Cowdery. And one of the things that I really like about this one is that during the time that they started receiving the revelations, you have to understand that a lot of persecution was going on. Joseph Smith, it's not that he went and started the church and everybody was left at peace and there was this whole thing of like, oh, let them just do their thing. No, there was severe mob attackings, people being beaten. Joseph Smith was tarred and feathered. So they were going through all these things. And here's a revelation from the Lord saying kind of like what you've been called to do, what you're supposed to do, and kind of giving them comfort through all the things that they're going to be going through, because I'm sure at this point they weren't even aware what was going to be happening in the future.
Yeah.
But here's verse 8. It says, "Be patient in affliction, for thou shalt have many, but endure them, for lo, I am with thee even unto the end of thy days."
Mm-hmm. And so
I love that.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
No, I was just gonna say, I just love this one because it gives you perspective. Be patient in afflictions, for thou shalt have many. Right? I'm like, isn't that just a mantra for life?
Yeah.
Are we not all gonna have so many afflictions? And the Lord says, be patient. And then he says, but endure them, for lo, I am with thee even unto the end of thy days. And I love the aspect of enduring. Before I used to have this mindset that enduring was such a negative word. I never liked saying enduring because I just thought like grudgingly you had to hold on to something or you had to white knuckle it. And it hasn't been until recent years that I think it was by a post by, what's his name? His last name is By the Way.
John, by the way.
John, by the way, and he talked about the word endure, and he said endure means to keep choosing Jesus Christ over and over and over and over again, right? Just continually making that choice. And I love that here it tells you what you need to do. Keep choosing him, because remember, he is going to be with you till the end of your days.
Yeah.
It gives me so much hope.
Well, and just to give a little bit of content here, just to rewind a bit, like there wasn't just persecutions, like there were physical altercations as well. And there were the mobsters started becoming smart in the way that they were attacking the church, because they were actually building dams to stop the water flow from where everybody was getting baptized. So there was a lot of like, and yeah, like a lot of physical and future planning and like in methodical planning, right? Oh, that's the river where everybody's getting baptized. Let's build a dam. Let's dry out the river, and that way that they can't have any more baptisms. During ordinations, people would come in and stop the ordination in the middle of a prayer and just pull people away.
Threaten people.
Well, yeah, and then arrest them
with guns.
Yeah, and arrest them. 2 particular times during this time here, they got arrested twice, and then for the charges were being disruptive to the community, and it was like disruptive to, like, we were baptizing, preaching Christianity, and ordaining people, like confirming them, right, kind of thing. Like, where's the disruption? And so both times they were let go, like they had the law had no leg to stand on. But yeah, it was very very methodical. Now, in the adversary's point of view, a baptism is not a full baptism until they get confirmed a member of the Church of Jesus Christ. So they're getting baptized. Right as they're about to get confirmed, mobsters are coming in and taking them away, stopping the progress. So this is it's very tactical. They're being persecuted. They're being arrested. Things are being burnt down. And so going back to your point of view, is the Lord's like, I get it. There's more coming, right? You just got to keep going, right? Be faithful. And then I understand, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just kind of like sharing another one that I really like, and it's verse 9. So I've been on this journey to understand pride a whole lot more, because that's one of the things that I am warned against. In my patriarchal blessing, it says on there, beware of pride, right? So I know that that's one of my weaknesses.
Yeah.
When it comes to
I know
things that can go wrong in my life, right?
Yeah, I know it. I've seen it. Go ahead. What?
I'm just laughing. But I love the scriptures because we can see, the beauty about the scriptures is that for us, hindsight is 2020. We can see their lives, and we can see how certain choices, certain patterns ended up for people either to stay in the church or to leave the church, right? And I think that's a huge blessing for us, because in our lives, obviously we don't see that. We're making choices moment to moment, and then we can reflect on the past choices that we've made and been like, okay, did this lead me to the life that I want to have? But it's almost like a manual. It's an instruction manual of seeing people moment to moment making choices. And one of the things that, as I was studying this week's reading, it was the difference between Oliver Cowdery and the difference between Joseph Smith. So first elder of the church, Joseph Smith. Second elder of the church, Oliver Cowdery. Oliver Cowdery, it gets warned, hey, beware of pride, okay? Because this is going to play something in your life. Then here, and so obviously, as we know, Oliver Cowdery left the church for many, many, many years. And remember, at the time where he left the church, he had a calling. He was one of the apostles. He was a special witness, right? He was a member of the presidency of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And here we have Joseph, right? Joseph has many weaknesses. And the Lord tells him right here, number 9, and in temporal labors thou shalt not have strength, for this is not thy calling. Attend to thy calling, and thou shalt have wherewith to magnify thine office, and to expound all scriptures, and continue in the laying of the efforts of the hands, and confirming the churches. So here the Lord is giving him counsel, saying, hey, Joseph, there are weaknesses that you have that I'm aware of. And this is what your strengths are going to be. So what did Joseph do? Instead of him being upset that he's not going to have the ability to tend to his temporal labors, maybe he's has, like, one of the things that I was reading in the history of the church, it talked about how one of the weaknesses that Joseph Smith had was his ability to keep track of, like, his ability to um what is it called, his ability to kind of ensure that he wrote everything down. He needed scribes, right? He needed people to do that for him. And they were talking about, with regards to the priesthood, with the priesthood restoration, and we have the experience of Oliver Cowdery and Joseph Smith, there's not really a lot of details. We know kind of what happens, but we don't know when it happens, or like really kind of any further detail. But Joseph Smith, he's aware that now he has these weaknesses, and what does he do? He calls scribes. He calls people to help him in the areas where he is weak. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are.
I'm not 100%
Yeah,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. So I'm like, it gives us a whole, to me at least, it helped me to kind of see the fact that pride tells you, like, no, I should have all this. I should be able to do
Yeah.
this. And this is everybody else's fault except my own, right? But being humble is aware of the weaknesses that you have, is being okay with the Lord teaching you, being okay with the Lord telling you, hey, you're not good at this, and this is what you need to do, or this is what you need to, like, this is a kind of system that you need to develop in order to kind of work with the weakness that you have. And that's what Joseph Smith did.
Yeah.
The Lord counseled him, the Lord taught him, the Lord chastened him, and he went with it. And that's why he was able to be developed into the man who he was by the end of his life, right?
Yeah.
He didn't start out how he was at the beginning. He was developed into that man. And then we see other patterns of other people who were canceled, who were chastened, who were told to that, hey, what you're doing is not right. And what did they do? They left the church. So it was a reminder for me to always be open to counsel, to always have a humble heart, and even if I feel prideful, or even if I feel some feelings, to work through that and to ensure that I'm doing things where I can grow and I can align my will to the Lord.
Yeah. Two immediate things come to mind when you say all of that, and thank you for picking that up. Is the Ether 6, bring your weaknesses unto the Lord and he will turn them into strengths, right? But then the other
Yes.
but then the other
I
one
love that
is,
scripture.
I think it was Oliver Warren Buffett, that says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you got to get yourself a new room. And so it's understanding that we shouldn't be walking around thinking that we are the best and the best, and that, like, whatever, is that we should be surrounding ourselves with people who make us better, right? And so in this particular case, it's the church. But in life, period, right? We should always be surrounding ourselves with people that are going to lift us up, that's going to take our strength and teach us, make us better, and then just pretty much help us out. So yeah, 100%.
Do you remember the reference for the weakness that scripture is in Ether?
Yeah, Ether
Is it
6:12.
Ether 6 what?
It's
Because it's
either
not there.
6:12 or 6:27, or am I getting the opposite? Is it 11:12? Hang on.
Maybe it's 11:12. Because there is one thing that I love about that scripture that was coming to mind this week.
Hang on, I'll tell you right now.
Oh, here it is. It's Ether 12, verse. Hold on.
No, I don't think it's 12, is it?
The Lord, that they may be humble. Yeah. It is.
Bear with us, people. Bear with us. So is it 12 or is it 11?
Yeah, it's 27. So 12:27.
It is 27.
And I
right?
love this scripture. So I feel like this is such a great scripture. It says, "And if men come unto me, I will show unto them their weakness, and I give unto men weakness that they may be humble. And my grace is sufficient for all men that humble themselves before me. For if they humble themselves before me and have faith in me, then will I make weak things become strong unto them." And I think my mind was open this week, because all the time I've thought that, okay, the Lord is going to make my weaknesses strong. And sometimes I thought it's been through my own attributes, right? Oh, okay, like whatever I'm struggling with, the Lord is going to help me through my own attributes. But I realized as we were reading and kind of like doing a deep dive with Joseph Smith, that sometimes the Lord helps you with those weaknesses with the attributes of other people.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like, I
100%.
and then I love this part too. It says, "And if men come unto me, if you ask the Lord to show you your weaknesses, he will show you, and then he will create a way for you to become better."
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
No, I love that. For me, 24, what really stands out is so we talked about everything that he's going through, like just everything that he's happening, and then just kind of Joseph is looking for a little bit of guidance here. Like if sometimes even in our callings, right? With the youth, they're not coming out. They struggle with their testimonies, and it almost might seem like impossible. Like I've had many callings in my life, and these callings, I've always been part of ward council, and I've always been a part of whatever. One bishop that I had, he says that if you're not part of the solution, you're part of the problem, right? And so it's always having a solution mindset. But then a lot of times we have these challenges. We're like, what are we gonna do? Like every door that I'm trying to open gets shut in my face, and I have no way of doing it. And I think Joseph right now, he's being asked to proclaim the gospel, to reestablish the church. He's trying to baptize people. He's trying to ordain people. He's trying to do all these different things. And it just keeps getting blocked left, right, and center. And then he's like, Lord, what do I do? And I love verse 12. And at all times and in all places, he shall open his mouth and declare my gospel with his voice of a trump, both day and night. And I will give unto him strength such as not known amongst men. In other words, just go and do and continue doing what you're doing, and I will be with you. I will be your strength. I will continue helping you. I will continue supporting you, right? And so a lot of the times we have to enter into this covenant with the Lord that we're just going to do. We have no idea how, and it's the how sometimes that stops us. And the Lord's like, just do your best, and whatever shortfall you have, I will fill in the blanks, right? Whether it's through
rest, right?
What's that?
He's like, do your best and I will do the rest.
That's it. And I always say that, right? Do your best and I will do your rest. I'll do the rest, right? I always say that. It just comes natural, but 100%. And so, I mean, if Joseph feels discouraged and the Lord is telling him, just go and do and I will be with you, I'm like, it gives me strength to like, I'm not being persecuted. Nobody's building a roadblock for me to go to church. I got my challenges, and our ward has its challenges. And at the end of the day, it's just like the Lord's just like, listen, just do it. I got you. Do your best, and I will do the rest. Right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In all honesty, like he doesn't actually need us. If you think about it, he includes us out of love and out of wanting to develop us and help us to grow.
Yeah.
Because he could do everything perfectly, he could have already given Joseph Smith the copy of the Book of Mormon all perfect and ready to go. Yeah. He could have done it.
Yeah.
But he didn't, because God does not do things that we can do for ourselves. And that reason is because he wants us to develop, he wants us to learn. Just like when we have kids, we teach them to do chores so they themselves can learn how to better take care of a home in the future.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean that sometimes it's easier for us just to get them done, but no, we teach them so they could do it.
Yeah, there's no growth and no struggle, right? Like, I mean, you're this fitness guru that's always whatever. Fitness guru. Well, I see your posts and you're sweating disgustingly, and so all these different things, right? And as much as I may love or friends with Maria, no amount of push-ups that she's gonna do, no amount of jumping jacks that she's gonna do will help my body. And I don't care how much, I care for her. I don't care how much Mike loves her kids. We are not going to be stronger by Maria doing the work. So for me to be strong, I have to do the work. So the Lord very well could have done all of these things, but where's the strength? Where's the developing of the people in that? So he needs to let us do that stuff, right? And again, let me change that. He doesn't need to let us. He allows us, so then we can become strong. He wants us to do it. He does it out of love, right? Absolutely. Yeah.
Isn't that crazy? I was just thinking about that, and I'm like, and that's why he teaches us his patterns, and then he wants us to do the same thing in our programs, the programs that we may have callings in, and the way how we're helping the gospel be growing is by us being able to teach those same patterns to those who we serve. Yeah. My greatest desire, I always tell the girls, is for them to have the tools that when they have a a time where their testimony may feel shaky, that they will know exactly what they need to do, that their testimony will never be based on somebody else's
Right.
testimony or somebody else's light, that they themselves can be like, okay, I'm struggling, this is happening, what can I do to like ignite that light, to build that fire, to continue and getting that warmth.
Yeah.
That's my greatest desire, for all people to know how to do that.
Love it. And now we get to the final chapter of this week's lesson, which is Maria's really excited about this chapter or this section.
Yes. Can we just talk about the most beautiful elect lady, the first lady of the church, I guess.
Yeah.
The wife of Joseph Smith, Emma
Yeah.
Smith. I I have come to love her, to be at awe of her strength. In the past, I've been critical because she does not go with the Saints West. She never makes it to, Utah. She never goes through that journey, but she stays. And learning about her life in this past recent week, really, I've been at awe. So some facts about her is that she came from a well-off family, right? When she met
Yeah.
Joseph, he was working for someone named Josiah, and they were trying to find precious, like I think they were digging for gold or silver or something. Josiah, along with Emma's dad and somebody else, had come into contact saying that this particular place where they were farming close to there had some precious metals. So they hired Joseph Smith along with other people to find these precious metals. Right. That's how Emma ends up meeting him. Family is not happy about her falling in love for Joseph. She wants to get married to him. Her dad is like, absolutely not. This guy has all these horrible rumors about him. He says he's seen an angel. Like, what kind of person do you want to get married? Plus, he's uneducated. He's a farmhand. Like, what are you thinking, right? And she keeps asking, and he's like, no, no, no. So she ends up eloping with him. So they get married. Then after they get married, for the period of, I think she got married. She was slightly older than Joseph. I can't remember exactly when they got married, but for the period of 12 years that their relationship is, no, I don't think it's 12 years, but the short amount of years from the time that he died, I think he died at 40. Did he die at 40?
Joseph
Smith? I think he might have died at 40 or 44. I'm not 100% sure. But during the relationship that they have, this wonderful woman is being persecuted. She has 11 kids, of which 6 of them die, right? So she gets married, she gets pregnant. When she gets pregnant, baby does not survive. This is the same time where the 116 pages go missing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then she goes and she gets pregnant again. She has twins and they don't survive, right? And then after this, there was another family who had twins where the mother didn't survive. So they come and ask if Joseph and Emma could raise them. She has these wonderful twins. Then on the night when one of them is sick, their house gets attacked. Joseph gets dragged out. He gets tarred and feathered. And then what happens? A day later, one of her twins die. So here we are, early on into her journey of motherhood, early on into the journey of the restoration of the church, early on into her marriage. She's already lost 3 children, and she's seen her husband brutalized, right? And so then she ends up having she ends up having another baby, right? Her baby dies at 14 months. I can't even fathom, like, as a mother, the amount of loss that you're experiencing. And then not even you're dealing with this loss, but you're also dealing with people just being horrible around you, right? You not only do you have people who are persecuting you, at this point you're starting to have people who were your friends at one point start rumors about you, attacking you, and making those attacks worse. Anyway, so then during this time, she ends up moving 12 times. Can you imagine, as a young mother, moving 12 times? Then Joseph, at some point in that journey, ends up he went to jail multiple times. But one of the times that he's in Missouri, he goes to jail. He's in jail. They're being persecuted out of their homes in Missouri. She gets kicked out of her house in the middle of the night with toddlers. Dead winter. She has to cross the Mississippi River. It's frozen over with a ton of snow. Like, not winter clothes. She didn't have a winter clothes. She didn't have anything, with her kids on tow. And she had to walk for a few hours in order to get to the next village for her to be safe. Like, this woman, let's talk about the amount of support. Let's talk about the amount of love. Let's talk about her resiliency, her strength. I was at awe. I'm like, seriously? Like, anyway, I love her.
Yeah.
But one of the things that I really like with regards to this section is that the Lord is talking to her and the Lord is giving her advice. And also, if we look at some of the things that our current president, President Nelson, has said, he has encouraged all women to study Section 25 to have better understanding of the priesthood and better understanding of how us ourselves can use the priesthood in our lives, right? Because the priesthood is not just for men, it's for men and women, right?
Yeah.
So I've been studying it with that mindset. And one of the things that I really like is actually verse 4, where he says, "Murmur not because of the things which thou hast not seen, for they are withheld from thee, and from the world, which is wisdom in me in a time to come." So with this, he was talking with relation to the plates. She hadn't seen the plates. She wanted to see the plates. And the Lord had to counsel her. And one of the things that I learned this week is that this counsel can be used for all of us in a sense where all of us have all our individual experiences, our individual trials, our individual things that we will go through. And the Lord has done that because he knows our potential. He knows our growth. He knows where we can lead. And he's like, hey, don't worry about other people's life experience. Don't worry about what they're doing. Worry
Yeah.
about what I've given you. Worry about the growth that I want for you. Worry about the opportunities that you'll have, because whatever is for them is for them, and this is for you. So I think that counsel has helped me a lot this week.
Yeah. Section 25 is unique as well because it's the only revelation given to a sister. So all the other revelations have been given to men, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the first and all of a, a revelation given to to a sister of the gospel. So there is a section here. I forget where I read it. Maybe it wasn't probably here, it was somewhere else. But just this is just the importance of finding a good partner. Right? There is I don't want to say there's absolutely no way. I just don't know if Joseph would have been able to do everything that he did if it wasn't for her.
Definitely not.
Right? Like, I mean,
That she was a rock.
he was her rock. She was his rock. Sorry. Yeah.
One of the things that it makes me think is that when you were called into being a bishop, into your calling, one of the counsels that you received was to rely on Tegan as well, right? Have her be your third counselor.
She was my third counsel, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, I think sometimes as women in the church, we minimize our own role, when in reality, I feel like everything in church is there for us to be elevated, to be loved, to feel all the things that the Lord wants for us.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
I can't begin to explain how there's no way that I would be able to do what I do if it wasn't for my spouse, for my partner, right? And I like using the word partner because it is a partner, right? I think it just goes deeper than husband, wife, whatever. For me, at least, these are my eyes. But this last couple of weeks in preparation for the open house or the rededication, when I tell you that I've been coming home anywhere between 9 and 11 o'clock at night, almost every single day, just interviews that I've had to conduct, going visiting people's houses. We have 3 people in the hospital, and I'm going to go visit. One sister did not want to go to the hospital because the fear of her, who's going to take care of her cat. Like I went to go do a wellness check on someone, and this sister fainted 3 times, right? And all 3 times while I was there, and all 3 times I was able to catch her. And I'm calling after the 3rd time. I'm calling the ambulance. She's like, no. And I'm like, I know, I'm calling the ambulance. And she's like, well, and she kept pushing back. I'm like, why? She goes, well, who's going to take care of my cat? And I go, if I promise to feed your cat and come here every single day and play with it for an hour, will you go? And she's like, yeah. I'm like, okay, let's go. And so call the ambulance. The ambulance came, the paramedics came by. And every single day I've been going there. And even after the youth activity, which we had, I had to go drop off this family, just pretty much borderline Mississauga and Brampton, like Derry Road, whatever. Come back up, because I hadn't fed the cat yet. Come back up, feed the cat. I got home around 11:30, 12 o'clock. And I've been having to do this multiple times per day. And the fact that she's not complaining and asks me how I'm doing and supporting me and what can I do, I'm able to continue doing what I'm doing. And just behind every strong man is a stronger partner. And I don't say that lightly, right? Like much stronger person. And the credit goes to the partners. All the credit goes to the partners. There is no way that I could do what I'm doing if it wasn't for her. And so now I'm not going through what Joseph Smith is going. But if we take a look at everything that he went through and and her just supporting him, like I don't know how I don't know if he would have done it if he did not have her beside him.
She is such a wonderful woman. Like, my hat's off to her. One of the things that I really liked is that there is the Institute manual that has this little blurb about womanhood, and it was from Elder Neil A. Maxwell, and he said this about women. He's like, so often our sisters, not that part. Okay, when the real history of mankind is fully disclosed, will it feature the echoes of gunfire or the shaping sound of lullabies? Wow. The great armistice made by military men or the peacemaking of women in homes and neighborhoods? Will what happened in cradles and kitchens prove to be more controlling than what happened in Congress? When the surf of the centuries has made the great pyramids and so much sand, the everlasting family will be standing because it is celestial institution formed outside celestial time. The women of God know this. Yeah. And then it says, no wonder the men of God support and sustain your sisters in your unique roles. For the act of deserting the home in order to shape society is like the thoughtless removing crucial fingers from an imperiled dike in order to teach people how to swim. I don't fully understand that last part, but it's just the beginning part. It's like, what will history show us, right? Yeah. Will it be all these wars and things that we've had, or will it show us the type of the things that happen between the home, right? The things that we as women have been able to contribute. Yeah. I have to be honest. I have one of the things that I did, or that Mike and I worked really hard towards, is for me to be a stay-at-home mom, for me to be able to stay at home with the kids. My background is nursing, you know that. And after I had our four kids, I always wanted to be home. And now here I am home. I think it's been about 6 years, and to have been able to see the impact of me being able to be at home with my kids, it has been incredible. Yeah. I know that that's not available to every mom. Yeah. I know that, and I do see this as a privilege. I, however, definitely know that the Lord provides opportunities for all of us, independent of the circumstances that we may live in, to nurture, to support, and to encourage our families and our children. And that is really what the lasting impact will be in society, right? I think society is built in the homes of people. Yeah. And if the men are the rock, I think the women are the mortar. Like they put things, they're the glue. They're the ones that bring us together. And I keep thinking about the sons of Helaman, right? Yeah, like when it was time to face death, like, at the sword tip and face to face and go into battle, they credited all their strength to their mothers. For our mothers knew it. That's what they said.
Not to their fathers, right? It was their mothers. And so it was very interesting. Now, needless to say, Emma was still human, right? And
just like all of us.
Just like all of us. And as wonderful and as great she is, she did struggle a little bit in the sense of like worriness, right? Mm-hmm. And just like and just anxiety and just like what's gonna happen, and just like anyone else, whether you're a prophet or not, whether you're a child or a woman or a mother, you see adversity and you're like, you want counsel. What's gonna happen? And so I love how the Lord counsels Emma, because I think that counsel to Emma is applicable not just to her and what's going on here, but to every single person that is a member of the Church of Christ, which is found in section 13. Wherefore lift up thy heart and rejoice and cleave onto the covenants which thou hast made. Honestly, you were there for State Conference, right? Mm-hmm. Do you remember the rubber band story?
Yeah.
Right? And so no greater example has made this part of the covenants more visual than that example, where every covenant that we make, what's the purpose of a covenant? It bounds us to the Lord. So if you're here and the Lord's here and there's nothing in between us, we can easily separate. But a covenant, it's a rubber band that goes around both of our wrists, and there's a little bit of stretch, but it does bring us back together. And with every covenant that we make, it's another rubber band. And then with every rubber band, it just makes it a little bit more difficult to separate ourselves from the Savior. And even though there's a little bit of stretch, there's that resistance to come back. So when Emma is struggling in her struggles, and rightfully so, may I add, right? Everything that is happening, everything that you described, everything that's happening to the children, everything that's happening to Joseph, the persecutions and the destructions of villages and destructions of homes, the Lord is telling her, cleave onto thy covenant. That's what's going to give you strength. In other words, cleave onto me, right? The covenants that I made with you, the promises that I've made, those are the things that's going to bring you comfort and strength. And so for me, in particular now with the State Conference that just passed, and then this counsel and knowing everything that's happening to her, just I'm blown away with just the importance of a covenant to the Savior, right? So,
as you were saying the word cleave, I looked it up this morning because we know that cleave means like to be close, right? But one of the things that it came up on this morning for me when I was looking it up, it means to adhere firmly and closely, or loyalty unwavering.
Yeah.
Right? So loyalty, it means like you're so firm in it that you know where to turn to. Really.
Yeah.
I think cleaving is a choice.
Oh,
that's
100%.
What the Lord is saying, hey, cleave unto me. Because you can make all these covenants, you can make all these promises, but the rubber band still gives you the ability to come out.
Oh, even
you're not handcuffed.
Even cut them, right? Like, so like that's, you can, somebody can just come by, or you can come by and grab scissors and just cut them, right? So.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that was section.
That's a good one.
Yeah, section 25. That's probably one of my favorite verses. Section 25.
Yeah.
Favorite because.
I learned a lot.
What's that? From me?
I learned a lot. Section 20. No, not from me.
Oh, wow. Cool.
I know. I'm just kidding. I did learn.
Oh, yeah?
From you. But no, I love section 25 because I want to understand better, right? I want to understand what I can do to be a better disciple of Jesus Christ. And I feel like it gives us a lot of different tools of how we can be closer to our Lord.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, right. that concludes our come follow with us.
Yeah, that was a good one. Thank you.
Yeah, and
anyway, we hope you enjoyed it.
Well, no. Well, hang on one second. Maria. So yesterday when I called her, she was like, "Did you read?" And I'm like, "I read." She's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, "I read and I studied." And she's like, "Okay, we'll see." So hopefully I've proved her.
He came home at 11 at night and he started reading, and he was like. Making noise.
All right. Well, that concludes our podcast. Thanks everybody for joining us. What was your takeaway today?
What was my takeaway today? You know what? One of the things that I really do enjoy is the fact that we get to talk about scriptures for an hour. Yeah. So I think I've missed this. Like I've missed the fact that we're just able to hear each other's thoughts and be able to be like, oh yeah, I didn't think of it that way. Yeah. And I think that's why the Lord has given us the opportunity to go to church every Sunday, right? So we can be around other like people and learn together. Yeah. Anyway, what was yours?
Just that last verse, the 20 section 25:13. It's when in doubt, when we need comfort, just remember our covenants. That's
cleave onto them.
Yeah, cleave onto them, right? Lean into them and cleave onto them. Anyway, so I particularly like it because of State Conference, what we just had, and we have a missionary that came that visited our home and showed us that exact same example with actual rubber bands. And so I'm a visual person. I learn through seeing. That's my learner. And anyways, so again, the missionary came to our house, saying that stay conference, and then seeing this, reading this verse this week, all in 1 week, literally, just made me open my mind to all of our scriptures and kind of like look for those covenants, because we're not just subjects to the covenants that we make at the temple or at the thing. It's any covenant, right? Like when the sons of Helaman, or when the parents of the sons of Helaman, they made a covenant there that was not a temple covenant. That was just a covenant that they made with the Lord. We'll bury our weapons and you'll protect us, right? Or we're forgive us our sins. That was a covenant that they made, and there was no temple, or there was no ordinance there, nothing like that, right? So, anyways, that just it makes me rethink, and I'm gonna study the scriptures with a new set of lens. So for me, that was very impactful this week.
I love that. All right, that is it from us. Thank you so much for joining. We hope to see you again next week, maybe.
No,
if we're not on here, it's depending on Miguel's schedule.
You relax. So we are. Hang on 1 second. I will tell you, just to let everybody else know, because apparently Maria just loves calling me out. So the 24th, we're definitely game, and the 28th, we're definitely game. So we're game. Oh, what the?
You get a call?
It's tied to Tegan's. I'm using her computer. Anyways, talk to you guys later. All right, follow us. Make sure you like us, and it's time to put you guys to sleep with our music. Ready? Are you ready? Ready? Bye, guys.
Close your eyes.